On 50 aft decks, green dots flickered as the Greek fire charges were uncovered in their mortars. I imagined Pando's technicians scrambling about, inputting their final coordinates. "Please, Artemis," I prayed. "Now would be a great time to show up." The weapons fired. 50 green fireballs rose into the sky like emeralds on floating necklaces, illuminating the entire bay. They rose straight upward, struggling to gain altitude. My fear turned to confusion. I knew a few things about flying. You couldn't take off at a 90-degree angle. If I tried that in the Sun Chariot, well, first of all, I would have fallen off and looked really stupid. But also, the horses could never have made such a steep climb. They would have toppled into each other and crashed back into the gates of the Sun Palace. You'd have an eastern sunrise followed immediately by an eastern sunset and lots of angry whinnying. Why would the mortars be aimed like that? The green fireballs climbed another 50 feet, 100 feet, slowed. On Highway 24, the entire enemy army mimicked their movements, standing up straighter and straighter as the projectiles rose, until all the Germani, Cromande, and the other assorted baddies were on their tippy toes, poised as if levitating. The fireballs stopped and hovered in midair. Then the emeralds fell straight down, right into the yachts from which they'd come. The display of mayhem was worthy of the emperors themselves. 50 yachts exploded in green mushroom clouds, sending confetti of shattered wood, metal, and tiny little flaming monster bodies into the air. Caligula's multi-billion-dollar fleet was reduced to a string of burning oil slicks on the surface of the bay. I may have laughed. I know that was quite insensitive considering the environmental impact of the disaster. Also, terribly inappropriate given how heartbroken I was about Frank. But I couldn't help it. The enemy troops turned as one to stare at me. Oh, right, I reminded myself. I am still facing hundreds of hostiles. But they didn't look very hostile. Their expressions were stunned and unsure. I had destroyed Commodius with a shout. I had helped burn Caligula to cinders. Despite my humble appearance, the troops had probably heard rumors that I was once a god. Was it possible, they'd be wondering, that I'd somehow caused the fleet's destruction? In point of fact, I had no idea what had gone wrong with the fleet's weapons. I doubted it was Artemis. It just didn't feel like something she would do. As for Lavinia, I didn't see how she could have pulled off a trick like that with just some fawns, a few dryads, and some chewing gum. I knew it wasn't me, but the army didn't know that. I cobbled together the last shreds of my courage. I channeled my old sense of arrogance back from the days when I loved to take credit for things that I didn't do, as long as they were good and impressive. I gave Gagorix and his army a cruel, emperor-like smile. "Boo!" I shouted. The troops broke and ran. They scattered down the highway in a panic, some leaping straight over the guardrails and into the void just to get away from me faster. Only the poor, tortured Pegasi stayed put, since they had no choice. They were still fastened in their harnesses, the chariot wheels staked to the asphalt to keep the animals from bolting. In any case, I doubted they would have wanted to follow their tormentors. I fell to my knees. My gut wound throbbed. My charred back had gone numb. My heart seemed to be pumping cold liquid lead. I would be dead soon, or undead. It hardly mattered. The two emperors were gone. Their fleet was destroyed. Frank was no more. On the bay, the burning oil pools belched columns of smoke that turned orange in the light of the blood moon. It was, without a doubt, the loveliest trash fire I'd ever beheld.